It's a challenging subject. We hear a lot about the international poverty. Australians are pretty good at keeping secrets. Our numbers from Foodbank report, the ACOS report and Anglicare's report today all indicate around about 12 to 13% of Australians regularly, yearly need our help. Now that's that nominal 2 million, whether it's 2 or 2.2, who cares? It's a large number. I recently spoke at a large Rotary gathering and I was the only person who spoke about helping Australians. And I was pretty proud to do that because so many of these wonderful organisations have a global approach to help. But charity begins at home and we've got to look after our own. So our numbers are around about 13.2% of the population need help. And our survey showed that it basically the lower socio-economic and low-income families that need the help, and that there was a higher percentage of that, which surprised us, than the unemployed families. So it sort of changed the focus because we have a major issue with what we call the working poor. I mean, I don't deal too much in the statistics of what's happening with our population, but I have a gut feel the working poor are also the people who have more young kids. And if you use the numbers we use for New South Wales, which is, and the ACT is 680,000 people need our help annually, half of them are kids who go to bed without dinner or go to school without breakfast. You know, that's 340,000 just in the state of New South Wales and the ACT. So we need to do something about it. Foodbank is a federated group represented in every state of Australia, including the Northern Territory. And our aim is to end hunger. We recently made a submission to people in this building, Minister Goward, and the submission was on behalf of New South Wales, and I've got a copy of it, New South Wales Foodbank, and I've got a copy of it in my hand, and it was the case for change. Foodbank in New South Wales are supplying 16% of the available food from the food parcel that we at Foodbank have available, and that's 24,000 tonne last year. But our demographic needs and our demographic split is we've got 34% of the population. So you can see in rough numbers we're supplying about half what this state needs to try and alleviate hunger. In the report we made a plea to this state government, and I'll read it out to you because it's reasonably simple. New South Wales Government, members of Parliament and the broader community, please share our dream, end hunger in Australia. There are some copies of this report out the front. There won't be enough for all of you, but if you'd like to send me an email and I'll make some cards available, we can electronically send you a copy of that report, because the issue for all of us is to make sure that we've got enough of the right food. And taking Rosemary's point, if you're hungry, you just want to put something in here. And if it happens to be Coke and chips, you'll do it. And if that's all that's available, that'll cause you some nutritional issues down the track, but it'll at least let you go and have some sleep and go to bed without the cravings of hunger. What we're trying to do in New South Wales, we started it in June the 21st last year with a Waste Not, Want Not program run out of the Riverina. And that is where we're rescuing fruit and vegetables that aren't suitable for market. Now these aren't products that are inedible. They're oranges that mightn't be the right colour or might have a slight blemish. There'll be pumpkins that might have a a sunspot on them, because pumpkins do grow in an open paddock. They might be potatoes that are too big or too small. The largest potato farmer in Australia, for example, is Lachlan Valley Produce. They're also the largest in the southern hemisphere. They get between 400 and 600 tonne of potatoes that are not suitable for market because they're too big or too small. Not one other single thing wrong with them. Completely nutritionally great. So we're rescuing those products. They get harvested at Hillston on Thursday, and we've got them available for our charities in most cases by Monday or Tuesday next week. That'll be quicker than those two big supermarket groups can get the same product to you. Because what we've managed to do, and for my sins, I spent 20 years running the manufacturing division of Woolworths, so I have a reasonable understanding of that side of it, is that we're trying to get product to you that's going to be nutritionally good, and try and teach you not to be as critical as we have brainwashed you over the years to make things look perfect. Perfect looking oranges are most likely not quite as nutritionally good as some of those ones that don't look quite so perfect and may still be a bit green, because the current oranges that are harvested, it's what's under the skin. Very few people eat the skin. So in that time we've been running that program, we've rescued 800 tonne of product. In the year we're in now, we're aiming that to be 1,200 tonne. Now, it's having a good impact because I was talking to somebody earlier. The estimates that I use in talks like this is that we say there's between $2 and $3 billion worth of fruit and vegetable that are never harvested. It's most likely a little higher than that. And somebody quoted a number of 178 kilograms per person. Multiply 178 by 22 million, and I think you get about 4 billion kilograms of product that's not suitable for market, but there's nothing nutritionally wrong with it. So what we're trying to do at Foodbank is we're trying to get those sort of products and address those issues for the charities. The Foodbank model is quite different to some of the other charitable models that are supplying food. You're all aware of the yellow van, which is OzHarvest. OzHarvest, if you took a simple terms, they're like the retailers in the equation. We're not frontline at Foodbank. What we try and do is we try and supply the charitable agencies who are registered with the ATO as a charity. We try and provide product to them, and then they supply the needy people, whether it's the low-income families, the unemployed families, the single-parent families, and all of those things, because that's our model. Because we're basically social entrepreneurs who run a logistics business, and we try and do it reasonably efficiently. The other thing, how we get funded across the nation varies according to the state. The federal government provides somewhere between $1 million and $1.5 million through Family and Community Services for Foodbank Australia, and they use that to buy food from food manufacturers under a mates rates arrangement. And how a mates rates works is one of the big grain producers might donate 500 tonne of wheat. A couple of the millers will convert it into flour, and then one of the pasta makers will convert that into pasta for us, or convert it into wheat bix, or convert it into cornflakes. And Rosemary, we're pleased to know that we support wheat bix and cornflakes because they have no added sugar. So we're trying to get away from the very high sugar added type breakfast cereals. However, if somebody needs a feed, I'm happy to give them Cocoa Pops if I haven't got anything else. So what we're trying to do as part of our go forward strategy, we're trying to have enough food to provide to the charities of 50,000 tonnes by 2015. And 2015 is approaching us like a freight train. It's not far away. And in New South Wales, we've got to go from about 4,500 to 5,000 tonne a year to about 17,000 tonne. And if the wise and generous people who live in this building read that properly, they'll help us. Because we're the only state that doesn't get significant state government funding for the Foodbank operation in the form of operational funding or funding for a warehouse. We own our own warehouse, and we've offered to match the government dollar for dollar, because to achieve the targets we need to do, and our survey, supported by the ACOS one and Anglicare, indicate there's a dramatically growing need. And some of the numbers that we quote in our own survey, that 1 in 3 agencies reported an increase in excess of 15% over the demand over 2011, and 1 in 7 agencies are experiencing an increase greater than 30%. More agencies are now providing food relief service to low-income households than unemployed households. Some households with an income are still seeking help with their basic food requirements because they just don't have enough. With rising electricity costs, rising general living costs, it's just food has become a discretionary spend. And as Rosemary pointed out earlier, it comes down to a cost-value benefit. If you haven't got a lot of money, you will buy sausages and sausage meat and mince rather than some of the leaner cuts of meat or poultry and that. One of the initiatives we started in June, July this year, and a little contrary to some of the data that other people talk about regarding fruit and vegetables, when we survey and talk to our agencies, the major thing they say they can't afford or don't get enough of is animal protein. It's not fruit and vegetables, it's animal protein. And traditionally the Foodbank network hasn't had adequate supplies of animal protein. So coming out of a trading background and running a large meat manufacturing business for Woolworths, I've got a reasonable understanding of what happens in the meat processing chain. So we've started trading some products, like we're buying chicken wings and chicken drumsticks and you know, rump steak and silverside and things like that, and putting a very small handling fee on it and making that available to the agencies. And it's interesting that the factor that's happened in that, we've gone from sort of nothing to 4 and 5 tonne a week of that product, because it's at a very affordable price. I mean, I don't want you to broadcast this outside this room, so I'll let you into a little secret. If you're a welfare agency, you can buy premium rump steak from us for under $6 a kilo. You know, it'll be a bit of a problem going buying it anywhere else. But what we're trying to do is address some of those issues in the meat protein side of it. We've done the thing with the vegetable protein, the vegetable and fruit through the Riverina program. And what we're trying to do is to have 6 or 7 staple fruit and vegetables available all the time. Potatoes, onions, pumpkins, carrots, apples and oranges. Forget the rest. That's 80% of where people look. And we've got to deal with the big numbers. Occasionally we'll get a pallet of bananas or a pallet of pineapples, and that's wonderfully received. But we've got to be consistent. And then the other staples that we're trying to make sure that we've always got available is rice, breakfast cereal, fresh and or UHT milk, pasta sauce, a treat. Now a treat can be a sweet biscuit, it can be potato chip, it can be something of that type. So we're trying to make sure that the agencies that are shopping with us have got that. However, when you're in a situation that you rely on donations, it's very hard to ring up the supplier and say, I'd like you to donate this today. Because we get product donated because it's a little shorter shelf life or somebody's put the wrong barcode on it. The only thing we don't do is compromise safety in any way, in a food safety sense. I'll give you a quick example because I think my time's up. A couple of years ago, one of the very large retailers decided they were going to have new rice bubbles. So they got new packaging, they did everything right, put big gold sticker on it, new, made 2,200 pallets of the product, but they forgot to change the ingredients. So Foodbank got 2,200 pallets of rice bubbles, which was wonderful. You know, it had 6 months shelf life. So they're the sorts of things. We've become masters at managing people's mistakes. And it's not too bad. I mean, because what it does, it gives a wide variety of things to people. Because the one thing we've all got to understand, poor people won't eat crap. Full stop. We have one rule. We've got 15 staff, and my simple rule to all of them, if you won't eat it, don't give it to somebody else. Simple. Not rocket science. You don't need a degree to work that one out. So what we're trying to do is to expand what we're doing, to keep it as closely aligned to good nutritional guidelines as we can. However, we understand the limitations of that. And to try and... Our factor is, for every dollar invested into Foodbank, we get a $7 to $10 worth of retail value of food at the other end of that chain. So Foodbank Australia asked the federal government for $5 million, which would then give us somewhere between $35 and $50 million worth of food at retail value. Unfortunately, they gave them 1.1 million. So they're a little short in the numbers, but we're still working on it. So look, thanks for coming along. Thanks for listening to me. I'm quite passionate about what we do because it's good to wander around our warehouse, which I do very regularly, and talk to the charities because they're the frontline troops and they're doing a damn fine job for Australians. Thanks.